Aha. Hi, everyone. So I am here with Helen today to talk about sales and all things sales and why she fell in love with sales. Now, I thought that this would be amazing to get Helen on because we connected a little while ago and I have seen so many amazing posts from her inspiring me into getting interested in filters for clean rooms, which is nothing to do with anything that I do, but she posts the most inspiring things and is so enthusiastic about what she does that it's kind of drawn me in, and we've got chatting, and I just thought she would be great to have in the group, especially as sales can be so challenging for many of us. So welcome, Helen. It's fantastic to have you here. We may have a few, I'm just going to say that we've had a little bit of tech problems in advance, so if it freezes and stuff like that, we'll probably go with it. But yeah, please do. We'll do our best, and if this doesn't work, then we'll come back and do something different later on. But we'll try and rock with it as much as we can. And the other thing I just want to say before we get stuck in is please do comment, ask questions. If you want us to see who you are, then click the button on. There's a link above that says allow StreamYard to have your data, and that allows us to see who you are. Otherwise, you'll just come up as a Facebook user and anonymous. So please do click, and I'll probably remind people as they come in that that's the case. But yeah, we're welcoming comments and questions, aren't we, Helen?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
And if you're watching this on replay, then also please do ask questions, and we'll be driving back in. Helen is part of the group and quite regularly gets involved in stuff there. So please do ask questions as well on replay. So, Helen, I would love it if you could tell us a bit about you, your role, how you got into tech, how you got into STEM, and yeah, just give us a bit of background about you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, my role is a sales engineer, and I've always been in really in sales my whole life. So I didn't have a degree, and I didn't really have the traditional kind of tech background, if you will. But I fell into the clean room industry, and I've been in it for the last 10, 11 years now. And so I kind of fell in love with the industry that nobody really knows about, but yet it influences and touches pretty much everything that we interface with on a daily basis. And I think it's that diversity that just with the people and the industry that just kept me in it.
And the thing is, your background is quite different. It's nothing to do with STEM or tech, is it? You actually have a background in the travel industry, don't you?
Yeah. All my stuff was in the beginning was related to travel, and I actually worked abroad for about so now nearly 10 years. So yeah, I saw a lot about people, and that's what got me curious about people and sales. But nothing to do with tech really at all. And then I came back to the UK. I started a job mainly doing things like, sales administration and exportation, and just kind of went from there. I think one day I was walking past a clean room, and I was like, can someone, what does this do? Like, let's really get into it. And I got a little bit more of a thirst for the sort of science side behind it, and I got my qualifications, if you will, for clean rooms. So that's how I ended up where I am.
Wow. So
a bit like that.
So I guess I was going to ask what inspired you into sales, but is that the thing, or was it that kind of the combination, or is there anything specific that kind of drew you?
Well, I think I've always had a curiosity for people watching. I find it fascinating sometimes how people are and how they show up and how they come across. And for me, I had a sales trainer that came into my previous company, and she worked with us for about 3 to 6 months. And from the minute she walked in, I just saw her and how she showed up and how she was able to connect and the value she delivered. And I was just like, I just really want to do that. I want to inspire people through sales, because I think a lot of the time people think you show up to sell, and it's a really big misconception. You show up to serve people, really, to walk them through a process, engage with them, connect with them, and then at the end, if they want to produce your work with you with what you produce, that's great. But if not, it doesn't mean that you're not worth anything. We put all our self-worth on whether we get the sale or not. And actually just helping someone through that process,
Yeah.
irrelevant of what the decision is really the, what we show up to do, really. The outcome's kind of, I know it sounds odd to say, but the outcome's a little bit irrelevant.
Yeah, and that's so powerful, isn't it? That's the sales that people don't often see, that they don't think about. They make a connection with someone, and they buy something, but they don't necessarily realize that that's a sales process too. When we think about sales, we go back to that idea that it's that icky sales thing, and we'll come on to that a little bit, but it's that kind of being sold to, and this is all on the person. But I love the fact that you're saying that it's not about what you get out of it, it's about making that connection and helping someone. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, it's taken me a while to realize, and I think I've gone through the same sort of route that a lot of people have with that feeling of if you've been sold at, and you're not aware that you're in a sales conversation, and suddenly you find yourself in a sales environment or a sales conversation, you're not expecting it. That's where usually the like, oh, feeling comes from, and you just kind of want to get as far away as possible. And for me, I want to really revolutionize that. I don't want people thinking that that's sales, because that's not what it is at all.
So tell me then, so what would you say to people who see selling as icky or difficult or challenging? What would be your message to them?
Usually it's because we're showing up with our thoughts, with our preconceived idea of how this should be. It's our right to get the sale at the end of it. And if not, well, it's just, everything's gone wrong, all external factors. It was the market, no one's buying right now. Or I don't want to be too pushy on people. It's always the external influences, but really what it actually is truly is us inside. And so if you're showing up with that, because you've had a previous experience, or that's what you just think sales is, there's obviously influences that have happened along the way that make people feel like that. And really, I always try and ask people to just, it's quite hard to do initially, but just not think of yourself, and to try and have the flashlight pointed at the customer, try and have the focus on the customer, what's going on for them, what's their needs. You might really need this sale because of X, Y, and Z, and that does definitely feel very real at times, but it's not about that. It's about what they need in this moment and serving. So to try and just flip that just a little bit and try and take it off you onto the customer and be really present in the moment. I think sometimes we have to feel like we've got a script, to say in sales, but actually I all right, maybe do a little bit of research on the company. I might have a quotation in front of me. But apart from that, I don't have a preconceived script of what I'm going to ask them. I just know roughly what I'm going to need to get to them to an end point. And I just guide them through the process. So we should see it more as a hand holding, lovingly guiding them through, rather than we're going to make a sale today. Those days are gone. That's what causes the challenging thoughts around sales.
And of course, we're talking here about sort of sales as if you're going out and selling a product. And I just wanted to come back because there's a question I was going to ask about. Well, why is it important to sell generally in tech and STEM? Because it's not just necessarily about selling a product, is it? We are all selling all the time, aren't we?
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's a really good point, actually, because I have quite a few people that say to me, well, I'm not like you. I don't like sales. Or I'm not, I don't really have sales as part of my job. It doesn't matter what job role you do, you will have some form of selling involved. Whether that will be to your partners, and friends, with where you're going to go and maybe not so much now, but what sort of film you're going to go and watch, and you're kind of always selling, what your idea and what you would like, what might be best for the group. Should we go there for food? It's got discount, or we really like it when we go there. There's always this element of we've been selling our whole lives with stuff, and then in certain roles, sales is a huge focus, but just because you don't have sales in your job title doesn't mean that you're not selling to colleagues or ideas or concepts. Or, when you think of some of the pharmaceutical companies, they go from concept to commercial. There's this whole load of selling that goes on before the product actually gets sold.
Yeah.
So
And I guess the other thing I'm just thinking about, to the masterclass we did last couple of weeks ago on communicating your value, that is so all about selling to people around you, but that might be a conversation with your boss to tell them what you've done, or it might be a conversation with your, like you say, with your colleague to say, well, why don't you listen to my idea and let's try out that thing. And that's selling just as much.
That's it.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. And going back to what you were saying about the icky bit, it's realizing that we need to listen first, and then that's how we then get to kind of talk about the thing that we've got. And yeah,
That's it. So many people just get on the phone and start, right, okay, I've got to make a sale because blah, blah, and it's your pressures that are on you. If you bring that and show up with that to the conversation, even if you haven't really said that much about it, people get that vibe of why you're there. What I try and do is I get really present. I think of a few questions that I'd like to ask the customer, but I don't get too scripted on it, and I just try and really understand from their point of view, what do you need right now, because it might not be my product, it might not be the right time for the idea to be presented, they might not be able to have capacity to take an idea on, or to take that information on. And so I think it's always trying to sort of see from their viewpoint, what do they need in this moment. And all we're ever doing in sales is just trying to take a pain point away, to say, hey, we understand your need the best, the most clearly, and with clarity. We're going to show you the best solution, and that's it. And if they choose to go, and that's a choice, that's okay as well. It doesn't mean it's the end of the road. I usually follow my no's up, and sometimes they become yeses in the future. So it's never a no and they've said no and we're not worth anything. We've always got more to give, more value, and we can still follow them through their process. So it's always sales, even when it's a no, it's still an opportunity.
Well, and that's really interesting as well, isn't it? It's that kind of knowing that it might just be that they're not in the right place right now, and instead of pushing and trying to force them into it, which is what comes into the icky, the pushy salesperson, just being able to listen to them and go, okay, well, actually, maybe it sounds like this is the thing you need. Come back to me when you're ready, and having that relationship intact is just like, they come when they need it, they think of you, or when they need something similar, they think of you, and you can then adapt. And it's just, it's such a different way of being, isn't it?
And we all know through experience when we've been on either side of it, and what it feels like, and you kind of don't want to be that person that drops into DMs and just starts dropping links in and newsletters and things. Always ask first. We always ask permission. Sometimes we don't have permission to sell. That sounds a little bit odd, but especially recently, I found some customers that have got some legacy issues. We've got to fix them first before we have permission to sell. If I went in and just started pitching the benefits of our products, even though we know that they're going to add value, that's not going to be very well received. So I'm trying to put myself in the mind of the customer. What do they want to hear and see, and what do they need right now? Sometimes even just pushing them away slightly and just saying, no, it's okay, I can hear there's a lot going on. When should we pick this up again? 3 months time, 6 months time, and then put it in your diary and give them a call. Or if it's an internal contact, let's part this and we'll put a meeting in for the future, get that meeting in. There's always activities you can do, but really showing you care and that you're alongside the customer, no matter what that outcome is at the end, is probably the biggest gift that you can give them.
And of course then the recommendations come from that as well. So it might not be that you sell to that person, but they're more likely to say, oh, this is the person to speak to. She's not pushy, she'll listen to you, and if it's right, then and that's much bigger, isn't it?
Because we want to look at the bigger goal as well, and this is why having long-standing relationships in sales is always the long goal. When I look at some of my successes, it's not ever done in a moment, and I see so many people, colleagues, ex-colleagues, friends, right, that's it, I've said this and they don't want it, right, it's over. And I'm like, no, because it's not about that in this moment. It's about a longer term journey with that client or that customer or your colleagues. It's not, if you think it's happening here in the moment right now and that's the only opportunity, then it's part of a bigger thing.
So what do you think it takes to be a good salesperson?
Oh, this is a good question. Okay. So I think in this day and age when there's a lot of content around, and there's a heck of a lot of information coming at people, always fixing steps for the customer and finding out when do you have capacity to deal with this, to just give them a bit of space and time, because I think the mentality usually is I've got to keep hold of it, otherwise I've lost it, and when we know with anything like that, relationships with friends and family, if you have someone in a bit of a chokehold, they kind of want a bit of space to get out, so
Yeah.
and breathe. And customers are no different. If you're here in their face, like all the time. And so there is a statistic actually that says on the fifth interaction, over 80% of opportunities convert. So we're talking more product and service based here. But that's 80% convert on the fifth interaction. So that means you have to have a relationship. You can't possibly not have one. Otherwise, you won't be able to follow up that amount of times to be able to interact. So having the relationship first, definitely number one. Building a bit of rapport and like ritual cliche. It doesn't have to be about work all the time. If they're willing to just share a little bit back. I always say let the weird out, just a little bit by bit by bit, but show a little bit of yourself. That's what people buy into people.
Yeah.
And they buy into people that understand their problem the best, that demonstrate a solution and understand their problem the best. So build your relationship, get clear, ask lots of questions, and always follow up through the process. Whenever there's like a point where you think, no, we're done, that's it, there's always a little check-in point after to just say, hey, I'm still here, I still care, even though you might have made a different decision, and really show that you actually genuinely care.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people that even when they get the purchase order in, or they get the sale, or they get the conversion, that's it, just stop talking. And it just shows that you were really only interested in that win in that moment. What about all the other purchase orders that could come in the future and the other needs that client has? So it's you're in it for the long haul with sales.
So there's a huge amount of organization as well in some ways, isn't there? Just kind of keeping track of it all and knowing, remembering to follow up and remembering who said what and all of that side of things. Yeah.
And I think it's a good point, because to have something like a CRM system would be great. And I know there's a lot of people in tech on here, so you might have even been involved in building some of them, or delivering some of the CRM systems. But it's not an excuse either. At the moment in my current role, I don't have an active CRM system. I just don't. So I use my calendar. I take notes. And so there's a few people in my past that sort of said, well, I can't do sales because I haven't got X, Y, and Z. If you've got a market and you've got a telephone or a video or whatever, then you can do it. There's no excuse really. But it is that management and organization of making sure, when are we talking again next? Let's get the next steps. Let's get that booked in now. And then it's a lot easier to remember what's happening.
Yeah. So what do you think is different about selling in STEM or tech compared to other industries? Especially given that you've got a bit of an experience of travel and things, so I guess there's a comparison there. But what do you think is different, and what do you find is different?
Yeah, okay. So I think from drawing on my own experience, in hospitality and travel, it tends to be a lot more open. People open up a lot quicker, so it's not just the alcohol. Like generally, there's just a little bit more openness to share stuff. Hospitality again is like serving. You're putting people up for accommodation or food and drink. It's like again looking after people. So there are some similarities in tech and STEM. I do see a lot more regulation. A lot more things like NDAs. You can't say this. It's almost like people trying to shut the communication down quite quickly. And so it does become a little challenging. People want to back stuff up in an email. I'll email rather than call. And then you lose that ability to build that rapport, because it's really difficult to build on email. It's quite superficial. So I'd say they're the two main differences. Is just one openly encourages, communication, and If you look at the venues that you've kind of got holidays, pubs, restaurants, and then you've got like regulated industries, it's quite tricky. Also in things like clean rooms, they actually don't encourage a lot of talking because the particulate that comes out and the shouting, it's so they don't really like you overly communicating anyway. So yeah, it's a little bit challenging, but we get around it. I much prefer to pick up the phone and then we'll sort of summarize in an email.
Yeah. And do you? But it sounds like you enjoy the challenge of that.
Yeah.
Overcoming that
it is a challenge. Yeah. So I'm like, I will speak to you.
I am going to build a relationship with you, no matter how many barriers there are in the way.
Yeah, and sometimes it's finding the right person because there's a lot of handover with projects. So they'll, with a clean room, and they might do the build, and then they'll hand it over to a contractor for the first couple of years, then they'll hand it over to someone else. And so there is a little bit of transition, change of roles.
Yeah.
But that's I guess that's similar in other industries. But I think it's just always getting those next steps and making sure if there is a transition or someone's moving on or whatever, trying to get, should we start bringing that other person in now side by side so we don't miss anything, and then when the person's moving on, you've kind of already had chance to build that relationship with that person. That's usually what I find works best, but again, there's not always time to do that.
And it's just that seeing, again, it's all about relationships. It's all about keeping the relationships and using what you can to build them as much as possible.
Yeah, and I've even started doing something that I haven't done for a long time. But people are busy at the moment and they don't always have time to read emails and things. So I've actually texted my customers a few times, which sometimes people say, well, it's not professional, but we don't have to put emojis on, but just, FYI, quotations.
Yeah.
And, when should I give you a call, and just in those next steps. But texting is quite good. And if you do know them really well, and it is that type of industry, then voice notes, they're really personable. I always like it when I get a voice note. It's like the next step.
I've only had one recently, but it's quite different.
Nice, isn't it?
It's weird. It's like, let's go all the way back to, actually, it's just a phone call or a voicemail, but it comes through in a text instead. It's like, what?
And even to the point with post, when someone handwrites you a letter, we used to get loads of post, and we then went to email. Now we've got loads of emails, and so now we're when you get a handwritten letter, that's like super. I love that when that happens. So but it does, mainly the difference is just the regulation and the fact that it is a little at times just a bit colder, to get harder to build those relationships.
So do you have an example that tells us about why you love sales?
Oh. This is a good one. So I had I had two really. I had one where a customer was just saying, look, we're not quite ready yet. It was a hospital in London. I can't say who it was. But they were really struggling. I knew they were struggling. And I said, look, if you need anything else, just let me know. But I respect that you need a bit of time for this. And throughout the next 2 years, they kept, interacting. Look, we need some help with our gowning regimes. We need some help with our rotational cleaning chemicals. And we were looking at filtration at that time, so nothing to do with those disciplines. But because we span them, we were still able to help. Now, I could have said that's not my area, that's not my revenue. But I wanted to help them because of what they did. And I really believed in what they did. And that's where we go from, surface issue, we just want some filters and, okay, they don't really want them right now, to I really want to help this company. And I want to help them, take care of children that are sick and people that are really, really ill. It's such a good cause, to try and help. And it took me about 3 years, and so it's longevity. But we got the purchase order for the filtration for the site based on that, because I said, you're the only one that consistently helps. There's so many people that are like, I'm not interested, not my job.
And it sounds like that was quite a big order then for the site wide.
Yeah, it wasn't. like the highest purchase order in value that I've ever had, but it was one that's kind of meant the most, because
Yeah.
of what they did. And then the one that was my, we've all got what like a whale sale or whatever we call it, like the golden sale, in our lifetime. And that was for again another London-based company, and we were able to help them with their consumables through the pandemic, and that was really, really challenging. And it started off with quite small orders, and proving ourselves side by side, helping and trusting, sometimes getting it wrong, but still showing up, instead of hiding. We've just on the whole thing from start to finish. And at the end, they said you were the only one that was consistent throughout, so we're going to place our trust. And they gave us, it was multi-million in the end, the
Wow.
value of that. And I didn't think for 1 minute we were in with a shot with it, because the commercials weren't quite, but it was more than that. It was more because they just really wanted to get that commitment, and that, yeah.
So we just got that little tingle that you get when you know things are just aligned, and it's
Yeah.
that just the trust, building the relationship, and them knowing that you would be there and you'd help, and it just turns into such a big thing, doesn't it?
And it's like one of my old managers said, it's like oxygen to you, isn't it? And I said, well, I guess it is. And it's not so much the purchase order landing in the inbox. It's more that, oh my God, someone wants to do business with me. They want that connection. It's not, the value could have any number written on it. It's not that. And that's really, if we're chasing that and putting our happiness on that, then that's going to fall down like a house of cards. 1 minute you'll be up, next you'll be down. And the only way to do it is to be really present in the moment, get clarity, ask a lot of questions, and really be side by side with your customer. That's it. And that's what I enjoy the most. When they send me little emails and messages, or I get an email about someone's dog. I'm a dog lover, and I thought I'd show you my dog, and I'm like, yes, with it, that's great. That's brilliant. You kind of want to get to like a really good stage with your clients where they do trust you.
So what, let's go to mission. So what's your mission? How do you want to make a difference? And I believe it's in tech and STEM, so tell us about your mission.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to just help others get comfortable with selling. I want to help train this out. I want to sort of try and get really down to like the granular level of understanding mindset around it. Because if you understand your own mindset, which is what you talk about a lot, Emma, with how showing up with your programs based a lot around that, it means that you can be really authentic. And that's what we're missing in sales. There's far too many people that show up with all these preconceived ideas of what good looks like. I have to get this order. I have to be on top of the leaderboard. I have to get this win. This customer must buy this, otherwise, I'm not worth anything, and I just want to break down all those barriers and just really get more people into being comfortable with selling, reaching their potential, because all that will come, whether it's your new car, buying your first house, whatever it is that you want to do with your wins from sales. I want people to really be pushing through and performing, but most of all, I just want them to be comfortable with it and detached from the outcome, and just be really authentic. So that's my long-term mission.
So building on that, what are your tips? So anyone that wants to be able to sell their ideas better and get better at selling more generally, what tips would you have for them?
There is a book actually that I read every so often. It's like a huge thick one, but it's Covey, the 7 Habits of Highly Effective. Yeah. It's a doorstopper, isn't it? Can't read that in one go. But one of the habits is start with the end in mind. So I always start with goals of customers that I ideally by the end of the year would like to have an interaction with. I don't sort of start to say I want to have customers that are spending this, and and I'd just like to start authentically selling and interacting and engaging and helping these companies. So always have goals and clarity. Definitely ask lots of questions. lots of open questions that draw the information out. And sometimes that's a bit uncomfortable for people. They almost don't, well, what if they give me a lot of information back? What do I do with it then? You just listen. You're just in the present moment, listen, lots of notes, take it in what they're saying, and give people that space, hold that space for them to be able to talk. Definitely have a follow-up, system, and always get the next steps with when you're going to follow up again. And then it is just consistent. If you're in an active sales role, how many calls are you making a day? How many connections are you making with people? What are you trying? If you're just doing one or two and then thinking, well, it's not working, it's like an oil tanker. You've got to really just be consistent with your reach out, whether that's on LinkedIn, whether that's emailing existing clients, following up quotations that you've already issued, making sure you've got meetings booked in to keep your ideas, on schedule if it's internal. But just to keep going, don't be put off, because it's our thoughts. As soon as our thinking comes in, that's it, the show's over. We might, we've got to just get used to being in that present moment with that customer.
So, and the thing, I was just kind of coming back around as you were talking there so if someone's not selling a product and they're not in a sales role, then all these things are so relevant anyway, because so let's say, begin with the end in mind. I want to develop a better relationship with a colleague or someone influential in the organization or something. That's the thing. So I want to build that relationship with them. And so in order to do that and get them to listen to my ideas, I need to go and listen to them. So I need to go and take some notes and find out about their world. And it's all so relevant, isn't it? It's just starting to see that, and before you know it, you are selling and becoming a salesperson.
And if you think of anyone that you've had in your relationships in the past, whether it's been a colleague, even a family member, a friend, the people that are a little bit frosty, the ones that just, maybe they're not quite your, cup of tea. If you just make an effort, just think back, draw on your own experiences with what's happened with that. When you've given, usually you get a little bit. It's always gives and gets. If you just stand off, slightly, they're going to stand off. So whatever behavior you bring a certain level of energy, and that's always what the universe reciprocates back, doesn't it? So if you're a little bit nervous of sales, and we're not really doing any lead generation, or we're not dialing out, or we're not really asking any open questions because we're fearful, we're putting a lack out into the conversation, so you're not going to get much back. And we just have to really challenge our thinking and show up in a slightly different way. Only tweaks here and there. It's not, you don't have to revolutionize anything, and then just see what the results are. It's brilliant, powerful to just go and play with it and have some fun with it, isn't it? And that's one of the things that I see you doing, is that it's that, how can I have some fun with how I connect with people? How can I put something out there, the message out there, in a different way that they come along and kind of get excited about it, and then we can have a conversation, we can build that relationship. So let's face it, some of the stuff that we do is exciting for us because we're in it, but it's not. My other half, if I talk to him about clean rooms one more time or filtration, he's like, I don't care. And I'm there passionate, getting fired up, and it's like, I'm just not, I'm not there with you, sorry. Just not. But actually today I just glanced down at my to-do list, and I have to give myself a kick. I'm not immune to these thoughts and feeling, we still have it, but I just choose to show up anyway. And on my notepad, I had a what I call challenge 20. And sometimes it just pops up in my head to do it. And I challenged myself to connect with 20 people today. And I ended up doing 27. So the energy just took me, and the connections and the calls and the energy I got from people. And so, I gave myself, I think it was about 3 hours to do that. And so, you got to chunk your time and protect it. And who knows what's going to come from them 27 connections? Who knows? Exciting.
So if someone wants to connect with you, if you were one of their 20 people, what's the best way to connect?
You can drop me a direct message on LinkedIn. Absolutely happy with that.
We'll put a link into your LinkedIn profile in the comments so that people can find you as well.
I love a voice note. Please feel free to drop me a voice note. I love a good voice note. LinkedIn do voice notes now, and I only found out the other day. It's like, how long has this been going on for? And just email or phone, text. I'm really okay. I think LinkedIn I'm probably on quite a bit in the morning, so nice message in the morning, and then we can get connected. Yeah.
And you are passionate about this. So if anyone wants to get more, hone their sales technique, just play around with sales a bit and find out a bit more, you're open to having a conversation on you. It doesn't have to be about kind of filters and clean rooms or anything like that. You want to do more helping people to sell. So if anyone wants to have that conversation with you, you're open, aren't you?
Absolutely, yeah. I try and sex the clean rooms and the filtration up a little bit, because it's not easy, is it? It's quite mundane at times, but then when you think of where it goes into and the industries and the businesses that it supports, it's like in every aspect. So I'm obviously super passionate about that, but sales is a process. There's like 5 or 6 steps to it. That's it. And the only thing that complicates it is us and our thinking. We just put so much on it. If I can help anyone, just make a couple of improvements with lead generation, reaching out to people. Maybe they're a little bit, stumbling over, how do I write that? How does that sound? What should it not sound like? Maybe even around the sales process, I've never really understood it. People keep, just phrases like closing, like, just makes me, I just don't like it, because I just see the negative experiences that I've had. So limiting beliefs, anything that's just stopping you, where you think, I really want to do this and I'm just not, please get in touch, because I would hate for anyone to not be achieving their potential, and we can just, with a few tweaks, maybe give you some tips to have a go and have a play at.
Amazing.
Yeah,
thank you.
I look forward to it.
Yeah, well, there's going to be a queue, I think.
You're too kind.
So that's all I had to ask. I haven't seen any questions, and I didn't do the call out. So if anyone has got questions that they want to ask Helen, I think we've only had a couple of people drop in live. But like I said, if you're watching this in the replay, then please do add the questions as well, because we'll both be coming in and checking in on that and be answering them. And I think this is such a big area and so relevant. So many people that I've spoken to within the group and outside of the group as well, we'll go onto YouTube, but have just been kind of, how do I put myself out there? How do I sell myself a bit more? How do I sell my ideas? How do I get listened to? And this is just so anything like that, please do drop questions in the comments and ask us, and Helen will be happy to come in and help out. So
absolutely, yeah. Yes, getting curious about people, finding out what's going on, finding out what the challenges are, and let's just start breaking these hurdles down.
Yeah, amazing. So thank you so much, Helen. It's been fantastic to have you in here. And I'm looking forward to what comes afterwards. So
thank you for having me.
So we'll see you later, everyone. Hope you've enjoyed this, and see you later.
Bye.